dang, I like this Bowcaster from Mystery Makers, but look at how many parts it is. Oh my gosh. I lost count of how many parts there are, but it is a lot of work. Just get ready. If you make one of these, you're going to be sanding for days just on the PLA alone. Forget about it, all the primers and everything else. There's just a lot of surface area to sand on this thing. But you can see I started with just kind of sanding each piece, and then you see weights on things and straps and clamps, and that's when I'm starting to piece some of the parts together with the E6000, and then I would let that piece sit overnight. So I think we might be into day 2 here, just, you know, putting more pieces together, doing more sanding, and then once I got to the point where the E6000 needed to dry, I would let it sit overnight. And then I think, yeah, okay, we're into day 3 at this point. So this is pretty neat. This is the trigger, which works off of a rubber band. You can see there's this little catch in the model for the rubber band. But once you put everything together and you got the bolt through it, you have an articulating trigger, which is pretty neat. Yeah, okay, so here's day 3. Things are finally starting to come together. I finally get to the point where we're done with E6000, and I get into a little bit of PLA welding, which is kind of cool. So if you have a gap that you want to fill and you don't want to use like Bondo because it's kind of like a big gap, you can actually use some PLA plastic and just melt it with your soldering iron and fill the gap. And it actually kind of melts, you know, the front piece and that back piece together and makes it like a stronger hold too. So that those can just sit. So I'm just gonna let that sit and dry. So we'll let this sit for a day. But the other pieces are all looking really good. We've already let everything dry on these, so everything's nice and set well, very strong. Also got this piece all done here, and we soldered, PLA welded everything together. The Bowcaster consists mostly of just like 3 main parts. So when you take the stock and the grip and you put the front launch area into the back area, that's what puts everything together, and it's got this hole right here which also goes through the trigger, helps keep the trigger in place. But yeah, so you got to put this all the way through, and that holds everything together. But when I went shopping for, you know, something to use, I found a threaded rod that will go through, and I found these little acorn nuts that look pretty good. I forgot to put this on here, but anyway, I need to take just a little bit of this threaded rod off. This is a 440 or an M3 threaded rod that I'm using. But yeah, I just need to cut it down because it's too long here, so I'm going to take that out. Set that there. Okay, so I just need to measure this down, so we'll put it through the little trigger detail there. And then put one on this side. Cap will sit there, so you can see I have to take about that much off. So let's go ahead and do that. Alright, we'll see if this works. So I just have a small nut on there. I'm just going to go ahead and take my Dremel and put a cutoff wheel on here quick. Let's see if this does the trick. There we go. Hopefully taking this nut off will help the threads stay nice, straight. There we go. Now we'll take a little acorn nut, see if that worked. Nice. Perfect. I like that. That's cool. Nice little detail there, and it will hold everything together nicely. All right, the time has come. Time for a test fit. Let's do this. All right, so I'll put this over this and make sure the trigger. So Carter, you want to take note of this. I don't know if we'll be able to angle with the camera just right, but anyway, there's a hole in the trigger which lines up with the hole right there, which lines up with the hole right there. So you need to line all those up and put the bolt through it all. There we go. Cool. And put the other little trigger detail on there. And the acorn nut. And we put our barrel in. And our scope. And there we go. Woo! Look at that. Okay, so I have done just a dollop of Bondo in some of the areas where I had to do the PLA welding and where I melted stuff together with the soldering iron. I figured if I did that, it would just kind of help things look a little better even before I go into primer. But we've sanded everything down with a 220 or a 120 sandpaper here, and now we're going to get into our primers. So the prop's actually been sanded lots of times already back when I was doing the PLA welding and those things. But now I'm shooting it with a catalyzed filler primer. I sanded that and then I actually shot it again with the Duke Color filler primer, and now I'm spraying it again with the black sandable primer. And this actually isn't the final color even. I sanded that again and then I shot this with a black flat paint. So yeah, lots of sanding, lots of paint on this thing. And then the lenses are kind of fun, so I did the black primer on these, and then I gave it a really high gloss clear coat to it to hopefully make it kind of look like a glass inside the scope. And then I taped off the grip and stock of the Bowcaster because I wanted that to remain kind of like a flat color, almost like a rubbery grip or something. And I painted the rest of the Bowcaster with a black paint and a clear coat to kind of give it that gunmetal sheen. And then I weathered this with rub and buff and oil paints and naphtha, and there's a whole live stream of me weathering the Bowcaster, so you can always go back and check that out. And here it is! What do you think? It's huge! I can't even fit it in frame, I'm gonna have to back up a little bit. Check it out. I had so much fun making this thing. It's probably, I think it's the biggest prop that I've ever made. Definitely the most pieces. But for a prop that basically is just all black, I'm really happy with the way that it turned out with all of the, you know, the little weathering and the different clear coat details I put on here. So you might be able to tell that it's a little shinier in the middle and a little more of like a flat paint here and up here on the scope. So, you know, I tried to use some different variations of black just by the sheen, you know, by shiny or not so shiny. And then I used the rub and buff on here, so close you can see some of the silver details, accents to, you know, make it look like it's been worn and it has, you know, a bunch of little scratches on it. And then I did the scope. I used the clear coat to kind of make it look like glass, which looks pretty good. And yeah, and that's pretty much the whole prop. I did do the phone cord thing, just like in the movie. It's got the phone cord that comes all the way around. And yeah, and it's just so much fun. Oops. And it's just so much fun because of the trigger. You can just, you know, pick it up and pew pew, like it's a fun prop to play with, but it is huge. Yeah, you're gonna have to find a lot of space to put this somewhere, because I mean, I'm a big dude and this thing looks huge in my hand, so like, I mean, it's really big. But because it's so big, I'm gonna have to break this into pieces just to ship it to you, or else I'd have to like crate it and freight ship it. But so this bolt right here holds all of the different pieces together. So the grip and the stock is one piece, the rest of the Bowcaster is another piece, the barrel is a third piece, and the scope is a fourth. And they all pretty much come together at that bolt right there. I guess 5 pieces if you count the trigger, but yeah, so, you know, call me when you get it. I can walk you through how to put it all together. The barrel is not attached in any way here, so if you push really hard, you can kind of get it to separate like that. But I mean, it kind of stays in place on its own. But I'd recommend maybe a little dot of E6000 right there, just to, you know, kind of keep that all together, which I can't do yet because I need to break it apart to ship it to you. But yeah, if I haven't said it yet, this is for Carter. This is for Blue Mamba, a good friend of mine, a lightsaber reviewer, getting into installing, and he's been weathering some helts and stuff. So go check out Blue Mamba's channel on YouTube. Very cool dude, and really good friend of mine. In fact, when I first got into this hobby, he was, you know, one of the few people that kind of like reached out and, you know, got me hanging out with the different people in the hobby and stuff like that. So, Carter, I really appreciate you. This is for you, dude. And yeah, I hope you love it. That's all I got, guys. Hey, may the force be with you all. Please click like, subscribe, leave a comment. Let me know what you think I should make next. And yeah, go from there. Hey, thanks, guys. May the force be with y'all. Catch you in the next one.